And they love you.
Do they?
They love you, bro.
Glory to God.
They absolutely love you.
Glory. I love being here, though.
I
This is
think
cool.
that they love you because one of the reasons that they love you is because first, it's still present memory a lot of the time. You know, a lot of people's perspective of you is present memory in that a lot of people were young enough yet old enough to be able to really experience and remember and know who you are because it was right there around the social media era when it was blowing up. You know what I'm saying? But then at the same time, um, you know, they can relate to a lot of the ways in which you still communicate because you're still a phenomenal orator, bro.
Hmm.
Like you, even when you talk and I send it to my editors and then they bring it back and I look at the way in which you don't communicate in the same way that a normal politician communicates. You don't communicate in the same way that, you know, it just seems so far out to where people can't relate. Whereas when you talk, even when you're breaking down political issues, when you're breaking down regular issues, you speak and it just resonates with people because for whatever reason they get it the way that you see it. Do you think that, and you know, it could be God given or whatever, do you think that you was just blessed with that? Because I know last time we kind of talked about you in speech class and everything like that, but you just got something else. You know what I'm saying? What do you think that is?
Well, I don't know. I would say I would say it's a gift from God. But I didn't know I had it until somebody called it out of me.
Yeah.
And so that's the power of teachers and the power of a good family. My aunt Madeline just passed away, and something great that she would do is she would force me to speak. You know, she would say that. So no, enunciate your words. And so we all thought, oh, that's crazy. But if you say, what do you want for Christmas? You know, I want speak. And help me understand why this is important to you. Yeah. I used to be sitting there like, wow, okay, Aunt Naiva. And so she would just call that out of us, you know, and you hear my baby in here, I think. I hope not.
I'm not worried about it. He's fine.
All right. But I mean, she would call that out of us. So, but I think it's a gift. I think that, but most people have that, and they don't understand that what's down in them. That expressive way that I taught public speaking in prison. And I saw guys that all they said, well, you know, homie, you know, you. Yeah, and I get them 8 weeks later, and they're expressing things in a way that they never have before, because people have to lean into their style of speaking and then manifest it and magnify it. And what people try to do is sound like Obama. I want to sound like Clinton. No. You have to sound like you and be able to express you more powerfully. And once you understand that, you could do it.
Do you think that you're more of a teacher? Because you just have so many talents. You know, it's almost like a gift and a curse to an extent, right? Because like for me, it's like the more that I realize or the more that people identify what I'm good at, the more expectations that they have of me. Yes. Whereas you're good at so many different things. You're good at being able to communicate effectively. You understand the system. You're really smart. You know, you come from a background in which you've been able to see both sides of it as far as understanding things from the highest level and understanding what happens from a political, you know, perspective all the way down to, you know, when you were saying that people would see you and say, you know, hey, the grass, or hey, you know, them being able to relate to you. Do you see it as kind of like a gift and a curse to be blessed with, you know, the smarts or the ability to be able to orate and things like that? Is that bad or is it good?
Every gift has an opposite effect and impact of being a curse in some areas, because to whom much is given, much is expected.
Yeah.
And so if you are a great nurse, they don't want the regular nurse. The regular nurse that come in the room, we want the great nurse. Yeah. So that great nurse is overworked. She's underpaid. She's always being called in. She knows she's have a gift. She connects with patients in a way others can't. So they all, I want Sheila. Yeah. I don't want this nurse. I want Sheila. So Sheila done work triple shifts. The same with the police officers, same with the firefighters, and the same with Anton. You know, people want to do different shows, but they want to sit down with you because you're able, for some strange reason, to get people to just relax and be themselves behind a mic. And that's what I said. Much is expected. Much so. Your show has to be good because we expect Anton's show to be here.
Yeah.
And that's So every gift has an opposite profundity of an effect of having a curse as well. Same here. If I say something and I'm expressing it in a way that I believe impacts Detroiters, the people who are my detractors are going to kind of, he speaks so well, but can we believe him? It goes to a point where they want to attack you in the belief element, and not only because you communicated it so well.
Yeah. How does that work when it comes to dealing with different business leaders? The last time that we spoke, you kind of talked specifically about the difference between politics and business. Like, for example, Rick Snyder, Dan Gilbert, and all of those other type of things. You kind of have to wear many hats when you're in a leadership position as far as politics, right?
Yes.
How does that work when it comes to being able to communicate with the business community, right? So, for example, they want things, but then at the same time, you're dealing with, the people, and they want things. How do you balance the two? Because at the same time, we know that, like, for example, you may not have as much power over the school system, right, as the perception is. But then at the same time, you're dealing with business interests and lobbyists and things like that. How do you deal with the burden as a person that is in a position of leadership? How do you deal with the burden of having to balance the interests of so many different people without it actually bringing you down? Because, like, to give you an example, I look at the president, and whether you like Biden or you don't like Biden, or whether you like the Obama or you don't like Obama, when you look at the before picture when they got in office, and then when they leave office, it's a complete look like they aged 20 years.
Absolutely.
Why is it even worth it to go into those positions?
It's worth it if you were called to do it and if you're passionate about it, and you don't know who you are without doing that thing. So yes, but there are different kind of politicians. Let me do that real quick.
Okay.
There are executive politicians and legislative politicians. Two totally different people, totally different styles. A congressperson couldn't come in here and run a city. They can't do it.
What's the difference between a congressperson
because
and like
a congressperson is into debating. Mr. Speaker, I rise on behalf of the state of Idaho. And in our state, they do that all day long. You got 5 minutes to talk to a bus driver about getting out there driving that bus so you can go pick up that old lady. You ain't got time. But when you go to a police precinct, I rise to tell you guys that one day we're going to go over here to D.C. and listen, man. We talking about how many runs we making per day. How many people expect us to be there 4 to 6 minutes, and we ain't getting the money, we won't have the manpower, whatever. Solve the problem.
Yeah.
Or people going to get hurt. Congress could argue all day and nobody dies. Nobody is missing a bus. Nobody is dying of some disease that's paralyzing the city. Congress is a debate realm where executive leadership, the person sitting in the mayor's chair, he has to be, or the president's chair, he has to be concerned about not only the legislative branch, but he has to be concerned about the actual old lady that's in a senior building that if she doesn't get rescued, she might burn to death.